Hello and welcome to episode 77 of the Inventive Marketing Club. We're here every week to help you build a better marketing strategy. Well, I say every week, we've had a bit of a break over Christmas, so we're back for the new year. So in fact, this is our first week back, and joining us is Dan Barker from Dan Barker Studios over in Herefordshire, in the Shire where I started my company originally. And we're going to be talking about how we use video in marketing. Hopefully, Dan's going to be sharing some examples of some of the work he's done with clients. And I think also what started this conversation, how I met Dan, is actually talking about video testimonials. So it'd be nice to touch on that as well. Hello, Dan, and welcome.
Hello. Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me along today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Would you just tell us a little bit about your company, your background? I mean, you've got a background in aerospace engineering, so that's quite interesting in and of itself, but maybe tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, as you said, my background is in aerospace engineering. I did that for 13 years in total. So I studied mechanical engineering at university, went into aerospace engineering, never really loved it that much, what I was doing. I kind of got into this niche of stress analysis, which is like, structural analysis.
Yeah.
And then fatigue and damage tolerance analysis. And I never really loved it, sort of from day one, to be honest, but I stuck with it. I often think that I was you kind of get trained to stick with things through school, even though you don't necessarily enjoy them. And
yes, they want you to be good employees.
Yeah, exactly. And I do wonder if that was, part of it. Not trying to blame anyone else for my decisions, but you get good at putting up with things, I think. So I put up with it for quite a long time and did it at 3 different companies. But I discovered photography along the way, just over 10 years ago. My wife used to have a women's clothes shop that was in Malvern and then here in Ledbury.
Oh, yeah.
And sadly, not long before we actually closed the shop down, we had a website built, and I decided I was going to take all the product photos for the website. So I went out and bought a camera, kind of fancied it, and we got a friend of ours who was a photographer to come and help, and I started doing all the product shots. And I found I really enjoyed it. And so I started wanting to learn more and more about photography and trying to, take as many pictures as I could and everything. And in amongst that, as I say, we had to close the shop down. And well, just prior to that, I actually left my engineering job for about 3 months. We moved in with the parents to see if we could save the shop, but it was a bit too far gone.
Oh, that's a shame.
At that point, and we had a young baby and all the rest of it. So
all going on at once then. Wow.
It was all going on, yeah. So I went back to my engineering job. We actually had quite a large amount of debt left over from the shop, which we felt we wanted to pay off. So went back to my engineering job and we worked through that for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I was always learning more about photography because I kind of got into it, and I kind of thought, I wonder if I could do this and earn some money. And actually, not long after we closed the shop, I did pick up my first paid job, the wine shop here in town, which you probably know, Hey Wines.
I do. Yeah, I do.
They were just launching their website and looking to do some photography. And my wife had been chatting to them and said, "Oh, I'm sure Dan will give you a hand." So I was like, "Okay, I'm not quite sure how to do it, but I'll go and give it I'll give it a go." And so I did it, got some shots that were acceptable, did the job that they needed. And we sort of negotiated a very low price for my time. And I was like, wow, earning some money from taking photos, from doing something that I enjoy doing. So that kind of spurred me on. And I mean, I didn't pick up any more paying clients for a while after that because I was still really early on at it. But I kept learning. I kept reading up about photography, and then reading up about business and listening to podcasts. So that's why I'm so into podcasts, because it played such an important part in my career change. I'd be listening on my commute to work and listening on the way back and at lunchtimes, and just trying to kind of virtually surround myself with people that were doing things the way I wanted to do it, running their own businesses and having that kind of freedom to do the things that they enjoy. So yeah, kept doing that. Gradually started picking up clients and work, and getting a website and an Instagram page and all those things that you do. until the point where I actually went part-time with the job. I was contracting, and it was pretty unheard of for a contractor to go part-time, but I went in and said, I said exactly what I wanted to do. The big manager guy came down, and we had a chat in the meeting room, and he said, "Why do you want to leave? Why do you want to go part-time, Dan?" And I just said, I want to build my photography business and do that eventually. And he was like this sort of big, hard guy from Newcastle. He used to run shipyards, and he sort of ran the engineering office in the same way. And he's just completely softened and changed and started telling me about all his dreams and
really?
He would have once wanted to start a music shop because he was a trombonist and all of this stuff. And yeah, so they let me go part-time. I did 3 days a week, and I did that for a year, and then got to the point where I was like, right, gotta go for this, and jumped in full-time. So that was
really nice. You could get that transition. I think that's really important, that you didn't just stop everything and jump into freelance. You were able to have this sort of gradient.
Yeah, it was. Looking back on it, I probably should have had a slightly longer financial runway, but kind of
sometimes that added pressure helps, because actually, if you have, I remember when I came out of my previous business, I got a bit of a payout because we kind of demerged. It's funny how that money disappears very quickly, because you think, well, it's there, that cushion is there, and that cushion just gets smaller and smaller until suddenly you go, right, I need to really push forward. And I think sometimes you do need an incentive.
Yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. It's all for the best, isn't it? And but no. So got going with photography. We were doing a small amount of video at that stage, and that I sort of knew a guy who was doing a bit of video, and he'd come in and we'd do it together and sort of, you know, share it out that way, and started bringing that in a bit more. But it was mostly all photography at that stage. But the video started building, and people were kind of asking for it a bit more and a bit more. We were producing some good stuff. Until then, I got to the point, was it nearly 2 years ago now, where I took on an employee who's normally sat behind me there, Tom, who's full-time with the video. So he also did some work for me as a freelancer for a little while. So, you know, got to know him, but he really wanted to have a job. That was what he wanted. So yeah, we managed to make it work, and pretty much haven't looked back since. So now we're sort of doing what are we, probably about 70% video, I suppose.
Really? I was just going to ask, is that going, have you seen that going up? And obviously
seen that going up. Certainly in terms of revenue, because, you know, much bigger projects video side. And the other thing that I did, which I guess we'll probably touch on, is I focused on a niche, which is also something that I wish I'd have done sooner before I left my job, because focusing on that niche has been a game changer, really, in terms of getting work and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to share your website so we can see a little bit of here's your show reel video playing in the background here. But actually, if we were to scroll down further, where was it? Here's a bit about section. You do talk about the fact that you are looking to work with manufacturing businesses, tech businesses, which obviously echoes your sort of historic background. And that's interesting. It's because it's one thing having a niche, but then you know, leaning into it and actually using that in your copy. I think it's good because it helps narrow the audience. The amount of times I've been, I ask people, so who you're looking for as a client, and they're like, well, anyone. I'm like, you can't have everyone. It's just not possible. And you're not going to work with everyone. There's loads of people out there who aren't going to pay on time, who just are going to be awkward because they're not, you don't have the right fit. So you want to niche it down a little bit. So I think it's great that you're putting it on there. You're just starting to say how you wish you'd done that earlier. I guess it's helpful showing that niche and really focusing on those clients. It was massive. I mean, the example I always give is, you know, if you go to like a networking event or something, or just a party or whatever it is, and someone says to you, "What do you do?" and you say, "I'm a photographer," or "I'm a videographer," and they say, "All right, cool." And then, you know, they say, "What do you do?" and you say, "Oh, I do some headshots. We do some of this. We do some of that. With this," and they go, "Okay." And
people like to introduce people, right? But who they're looking to introduce you to is someone that needs photography or video, which at any given moment is pretty much about no one in that room, just statistically. But if you go into that room and you say, I produce photos and videos for manufacturers, engineering and tech companies, they go, oh, I know my mate Dave, he runs an engineering company. I'll introduce you now. Yep. Dave, Stan. You make a connection, and then yes, they don't need video or photo right then, but you're introduced to them and you've got that connection, and they know that you're a specialist in the area that they work in. So it's been really, yeah, as I say, it was a game changer, really, sort of leaning into that and choosing the niche. You know, I think that's the thing that people often struggle with, and something I want to sort of put more content out in the future about, really, is how you choose a niche, because I think it's quite interesting. And, you know, as you picked up, for me, it was my background and bringing those two things together. And the reason it came about actually was a random LinkedIn post that I put up when I was in my engineering job, thinking, how am I going to get out of this? And I just put up a post on LinkedIn saying, what struggles have you had when booking a photographer?
Oh, yeah, good.
And someone named John Johnson, who I'm now good friends with.
I know him. Yeah, very nice chap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been on a few times.
Oh, has he?
On the show. Yeah.
Right. No way. Okay, I saw him last night actually. He just randomly replied back, because he was having some problems at the time with a photographer trying to photograph some engineering type things, some technical things and the photos just weren't doing them any justice. And he said, oh yeah, I have this struggle because the photographer doesn't really understand the thing that they're photographing, and so the photographs aren't really demonstrating properly. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. There might be something I could do there. So, you know, as you know, he's a very generous guy, and he jumped on a phone call with me and talked me through it a bit. And I thought, okay. And I started going kind of gently, because I was nervous, like I think everyone probably is. You're nervous of dropping, like, you know, the big wide net and just going very narrow. And so I sort of went gently at it, and gradually over time I realized, okay, this is really good. I need to just go for it, you know. And when the world went crazy a few years ago and decided that we couldn't do any work, I just thought, right, I'm just going to go into it. There's nothing to lose here. Let's just fill the website with that kind of copy and go for it. And yeah, again, haven't looked back since, really. So
I think just going back to what you're saying, how you might introduce yourself at a networking session, or, you know, just anywhere where you're meeting new people, rather than saying, I do this and these things, having the sort of ready-built referral text in there, if you will. I do video and photography for these particular niches and help them with X. That's something that people can then say, I can take that pretty much as you've said it, and then refer you on with that information. I think that's really, really useful, because they can place you. I think whether we like it or not, people like to put you in a box, because it's much easier, rather than say, well, this is a very useful guy, but I don't know where he's useful. I know he can do lots of stuff and he can help with things, but actually I know they do great video, great photography in these areas. And as you say, I know people like that. So it just helps bring it to mind. Yeah, it's great. And I think that is important when people introduce themselves, that they try and find one particular thing that they can be known for, even if you can do lots of other stuff. I struggle with it. It's a problem for us, because actually we do so much. And our client base, we've tended to focus on clients that we like working with, rather than in a particular industry. And that does make it harder to find the right people. You do get, but it tends to work on referrals. So you do get nice people referring other nice people. But I think it's worth it. And in fact, we had a videographer, Nigel, who came on. He's not in your area. He's down sort of Bristol way.
Right.
His niche is agribusiness.
Right. Okay.
So I work with him as part of a government funded program. So sort of given some consultancy and time. And one of the things that came out of that is like a podcast, something that sort of idea. But his particular niche was agribusiness. And so very specific focus, but actually exactly like you, it really helps because he can understand that deeply. He knows the problems. He works with other companies like them. And so he can suggest ideas that will be really useful to them based on what he's doing with other people. So it helps a lot, I think.
Yeah. No, it helps.
Huge win.
Yeah, when you can go in and you've got that experience, and you can say, okay, usually what we do in this situation is we'll do this, because you have to keep the factory line going, or whatever it is, and also you walk in and you've got all your own PPE and everything. They don't have to worry about that, but yeah, one of the sort of light bulb moments for me was one of the very first times I did a industrial photo shoot, when I was sort of pushing that niche a bit. And I went to this place in Hereford and went and met the guy that was running the line. I don't know if he was like the general manager or something, but he was kind of talking to me like, sort of, a bit funny, like I was some kind of creative that he just couldn't possibly understand what they did or anything. And got into the conversation, and I just dropped in that I'd done a degree in mechanical engineering and all the rest of it, and it was like a light switch.
Really,
he changed the way he spoke to me then, and his confidence in me as well. So that was a really interesting point. But the other thing, just to touch on, I think in terms of the work that you do, I think it's I can't remember if it's, do you know Blair Enns and David Baker, who do the Two Bobs podcast?
No.
Oh, you'd love that. Check that out. I was listening
The
to
Two Bobs. Yeah.
Bobs. Yeah. One of them had a quote that was like, it's not about the work you do, but it's about the work that you pursue, in terms of specializing. And we do a bit of a range of work as well. It's gradually got more focused towards the industrial, but we still get asked to do other things. It's just that I don't put them out on my website, my social media things. I just pick and choose what I put out there to keep the message, the marketing message.
That's a good point. Yeah, so it doesn't stop you from doing other work, because people will find you and they'll respect what you do and want to work with you, but you just don't shout about that so much. Yeah. Exactly,
because that's one of the things people worry about, isn't it, with niching, is but I enjoy doing all this other work, and I want to do this, but you can still do it and it'll still come in. I mean, up until probably a year or so ago, I haven't had one recently, but I used to get the occasional inquiry for family portrait sessions, on my Dan Barker Studios website. I'd be like, what made you possibly think from the website that would be what I do? But occasionally, I used to do them a bit.
They like obviously a very professional family photo shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the thing is, niche doesn't have to be on industry. I mean, you can niche on anything, and I think it's just coming down to, what do people, maybe if you're not sure of the niche, maybe you ask your customers, find out what you're notable for, and then say, well, that's actually my niche. That's what, because sometimes it is difficult to identify what your niche is. And maybe it's like, actually, you work across all these industries, but the one thing you're very good at is this particular area. I think it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah.
So we were talking about video and how that's sort of more and more people are asking for it. Certainly a growth area in your business. Why are businesses asking for this? I mean, I kind of know the answer to the question, but it'd be nice for you to explore it. And like, from your customers' point of view, why are they asking you to do more video in your business? And then actually, I'll mention this. We've got your new show reel. So I'll bring that up while you're talking. If there's anything you want to point out, we can have that in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think people, they're seeing more and more video themselves on all the channels anyway. And I think people are just realizing that you can get a lot across in a video. People are happy to sit there and watch a video for however long it is. As we know, generally they're quite short on social channels and things, and arguably getting a bit shorter and snappier. But it just, it brings everything to life. I always slightly refrain from this thing, but I suppose it is true. People say, if a picture paints 1,000 words, then a video is sort of 24 pictures every second. So you're getting across so much more information and engaging with people. And you can see, from the people in here, like if you were going to any of these guys, you've already got a sense for who they are, because you can see them there moving and in real life. I think it just adds a big element of what's the word I'm looking for? Just being able to relate to people, and that sort of, I suppose, authenticity in a way. Although
Authenticity,
that term gets bandied about a bit.
It does, but I know what you mean.
In many ways, there's nothing that authentic about some videos, because you chop up the interview so much that, you know, it sounds like they just reeled it off beautifully when actually you were there interviewing them for 2 hours trying to get them to sort of relax enough to get the words out. But yeah, I think it's all of those things, isn't it? What would you say?
Well, video for me, I mean, I look at it in a very mercenary, from a very mercenary viewpoint, in that what can video do for me? And video is really effective from a search engine optimization point of view. So I think, so I'm looking at it from the technical side. How is it going to bring in new business? I mean, as the sort of one thing that I can bring. And video is really effective because it's another channel to be found on, like particularly YouTube, but you know, it could be other areas as well, but YouTube's the main one for me. And it really helps. And I've seen it with many clients. The moment they start doing video, they start getting found more, not only on Google, because the videos the databases are linked, but on YouTube itself. You know, people actually spending time on YouTube where they've got a question and they're looking for a video answer to that question. So producing video like that can really help get them just more traffic to their website, which you know, gives them more opportunity to sell, I guess. So that's the kind of the pure technical reason for it. The other reason is it allows the company, certainly if you are a service-based company, but even with products as well, it allows you to show some reality and humanity behind what you do. And actually, that's probably more important for a project, for a product. You know, rather than just showcasing what the product is and its features, you can actually show the benefits it brings to the people who buy it. You can show the people who create it and design it and why they care about it. And that for people who care about the product, mean it'll help them buy in more into that product, because they're not just buying something that is nicely made that's going to help them solve whatever problem they've got, but it's going to be buying a product made by people who actually care. And that does mean something. It's not going to mean something to everyone, but to the right people, it's going to mean something. So I think that's really effective for me. And also then showcasing client testimonials. I mean, that is really useful, because you can have a bit of text with a name on it, and that's something. You can have an image against that, and maybe a company names. You start adding more data to make that more legitimate. But having a video, especially if it's more candid, and I dare I say less professional, because sometimes I think you can have testimonials that are too clean, too clinical. I think you want a testimonial where people are just, you know, it's not highly edited, so it's nice and tight. It's actually more naturally what they say. I think they can come across really well for me, but obviously it's a blend. But I think those are the key areas for me: search engine optimization, and then sort of showcasing the humanity behind the company, and then the testimonials. That's not even to mention social media. I'm just thinking about the website itself. So that's the areas I think are important.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the technical aspect of the searchability and everything is probably something that well, we don't get involved in as much, because we're not the ones then placing it, you know, on the website and everything like that. But it's something we should discuss a bit more when we're going out there. And because right, for you there's more impact you can give. You know, there's a production side to it, and you know, your videos are great, high quality, but also they're showing, like, is that a plasma cutter there? So you're showing the sort of the detail and what other people want to see. So if it's an engineer looking at that plasma cutter, there's certain things that they want to know about it. So you can make sure that that's showcased, as well as it being high quality, which is hopefully what they expect it to be. But then if you're able to go in and say, well, a way you can sort of multiply this video is doing these things with it as well. Or obviously maybe referring a nice marketing company as well to help with that. Absolutely. And I think one of the things we come up with, I was going to say come up against, it's not really against, it's just with, you know, come across, is that people don't really know what's possible with video as well, and what sorts of videos they could do. You know, they don't think about all the different options. And that's where, you know, bringing someone like us or like yourself in with that experience, you can say, well, you could do this, you could do this, and then you could have a whole package of videos and it'll all sit nicely together. And
yeah, that's a good point, actually. Do you do any work, sort of education work on that, or is it when clients come and talk to you, then you start talking about that?
yeah, it's mostly been speaking to clients, but it's actually something that's up on the whiteboard behind me. Something we need to do this year really is a bit more education around, yeah, what are the different types of things you could do. I mean, I've got a fairly old now PDF download that's on my website of I think I called it 9 photo and video ideas to help grow your business, and some of them are in there, but yeah, that needs a bit of expanding, especially on the video side, because there are so many things. You can do the testimonial videos, you could do a nice company video which explains about your ethos and your values and everything. You do a product video that's purely about the product. You can do a assembly video. So we've got a barbecue company that we shoot for, within a couple of assembly videos for them. So
that's good. Yeah,
when they get the flat pack barbecue, they can just log on there and
they're not looking at these instructions going, how
exactly.
do I? You just watch a video and it's step by step, very calm.
Yeah, and we've done some service videos as well for a big engineering company, Ingersoll Rand, so showing how to service some of their compressors and things. And that then cuts down on all their customer service team's time as well. If they've got a video, it's like having an FAQ page, but kind of on steroids, I suppose. Yeah. Send them to the video. This is how you do the service, and suddenly they're not having to take hundreds of calls like, oh, I've just started doing this and I'm not sure where that screw is. It's all there in the video. So there's loads of ways you can bring it into business at all the different customer touch points, I suppose. And it brings that humanity in as well at all of those points. So even after someone's bought the barbecue, they're then seeing some real people there assembling the video, and that's sort of buying them into the brand even more. And they're probably gonna, then buy some accessories and buy this and that and recommend it to their uncle and their friends.
Yeah. What an example of that? One of the things I like about the site, I think it's AO.com, or the appliances online.
Oh yeah.
And they do reviews of pretty much all the products they have on there.
Mm.
They're not the most exciting reviews, but they're frank. They're just kind of talking over this product. So they just introduce it, they show you around it, they open it, close it, turn it on, say what they like about it, it's not what they don't like about it, but maybe some of the areas that you need to know about. And I like that, because you can pick a product and you're not just sort of buying it based on the marketing photos. You've got their video as well. And so that leads you to feel more comfortable about your purchase, that you've had. It's like you've been to the showroom and you've had a nose round yourself. You've kicked the virtual tires of this oven. I know ovens don't have tires, but you get my meaning. You've checked it out fully. And so you feel a bit more confident about what it's going to look like, because I think it's marketing photos they present the best light on something, and they if you're buying a product, you don't quite get the sense of how big it is, what impact it's going to have in your life, whether that's in a physical sense or otherwise. And having a video, especially in context, is so important to a buyer if they're buying a product or even a service. Getting to see that service and how it's going to be deployed is so useful in helping people understand how that will work. Because I think that's the biggest thing. In fact, case in point, we bought some lights the other day. There's some like ceiling lights that were going to go onto in our attic for our house, and we bought them. They looked perfect. They thought they looked like the right size. I didn't quite check the measurements, but they looked right. The scale looked right. You get them, they're like double the size I thought they were going to be, and that's just because of the way the photos were. If they had the photos in situ. So you have an isolated photo, that's great. That's really useful just to get a sense of it. But actually have it in situ, so you've got some context with known sizes of features. You can see, oh no, it's going to be too big. That's not going to suit us. And so a long digression, but I think it is so important to have videos that cover those areas.
Yeah, it's all about confidence, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The buyer confidence to then just take that next step and hit buy or hit inquire or whatever it is,
Exactly. Your customer has a shopping list, no matter who they are. It's someone buying a small little widget or through to a multi-million-dollar service that someone's buying. Yeah. They will have a shopping list, and you want to address all the different aspects of those shopping lists, whether it's what they're going to get before they buy through to the after sales they're going to get. And so you talking about these assembly videos, maybe aftercare videos where they'll have items that they can go and fix certain bits themselves. That is all crucially important to people actually making that decision to buy in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that it would be good to understand from your perspective, what types of videos do clients request?
Mm-hmm.
And in your opinion, what videos are the most effective? Different types of videos.
They request all sorts of videos, really. That, to give you an idea of some of the videos you can do, you can have like a homepage video, so something that plays full bleed on the homepage. That's good for your SEO because people come on and they get engrossed in the video for a few seconds, or hopefully a bit longer, and Google says, "Oh, this must be a good website because they're staying there."
So it's a bit like your one, which I'm showing now. So it's just a video that sits like underneath your header and just plays, and it's like it shows exactly the quality of your work.
Exactly, and a lot of people they'll just kind of put a few clips on one of those videos, we just need a few clips of, around the factory or around the premises or whatever it is. But actually what we try and do is kind of curate a bit of a story into that, so that when people come on, they actually want to follow the story along and see what's going to happen, rather than just, there's a few clips in the background. So yeah, that's kind of a website homepage video. As I said, you've got product videos, so a bit like that light that we just saw there, just demonstrating the product. So we did a whole load of those just before Christmas for a company, lots of different products, just bringing them in, some text graphics showing, talking about the benefits, what they are. You don't have to have any speaking on them. Those ones didn't have speaking. Then there are product videos with the speaking. So again, some of those barbecue videos we've done, we've brought in a professional presenter, and he's actually talked through the product and all the benefits and demonstrated it. And we've followed him along, doing a bit of cooking on there and sitting down. He's very happy with his.
Nice. Did you get to eat afterwards?
We didn't actually. The reason being that the food that was put on there had been pre-prepared and then sort of, reheated to try and make it look good.
Yeah, and sometimes they food photography, you have to do things to sort of pump it up, and so if it's got anything on it, you probably wouldn't touch that.
You don't actually fancy it. So yeah, there's those ones. Then there's a company video. So we did one just towards the end of last year for a company called London Box Sash, which probably one of our favorite videos from last year actually, where we interviewed the guys. There was the dad and the two sons who run the company, and they were talking about their history, how the dad started the company back in the 70s, and then they specialized into box sash windows, and then we overlaid some graphics on that and a kind of timeline, and just taking people through the journey. Apparently that's been really successful for them already, because their salesman will have it on their iPad, and while they're kind of measuring up, they'll say, "Oh, I do want to just watch a bit about the company."
Nice, yeah, I like it.
Give it to the customer, and they'll be measuring up the windows. That's been really good for them. So yeah, a good company video. I don't think you want to be too long. I think from memory that one was about maybe 3 minutes or something. So you don't want to be going on forever about or the every last detail about the company. But
you don't want people to hover and look at the timeline to find out where they are in a video. I think that is the moment the video is too long.
That's the killer. Yeah. That's true. So yeah, that's a good video. Testimonials we've talked about a little bit. I think that's a great thing to have, and some of our clients at the moment, we're building them a bank of testimonial videos. So when their customer then goes onto their testimonial page on their website, they just have a load of videos and then go, these guys were happy, these guys were happy. And I think, like you touched on, having a video, it just gives people a bit more confidence, because they can see this person in the flesh talking, on their own free will about how great their experience was. And actually, if you think about that even further, which maybe you don't when you're just watching a video, they've got to be pretty happy to have given up their time for their supplier to, like we did one this week, and the guy gave up sort of 3-4 hours of their day to make this testimonial video with us. That in itself is a pretty good compliment to the company and the product. So
it is. And I found, just off the back of video, if a client is willing to do that, they might then be willing to share that video because they're in it, and it might tell a side of their business that they haven't shared anywhere else. That they didn't think to share, and actually this is a really good insight into our business. So we want to share that as well. So you get some additional exposure sometimes off the back of that. That's and right. When we spoke before Christmas, you were talking about testimonial packages that you do, which I think is a great idea, where you will clients sign up and then you will deliver a number of testimonials for them throughout the year, which I think is a great idea. It's then something people don't need to worry about too much. It's part of the process that when they do have customers who had an exciting project or is particularly happy, they can feed that to you, I guess, and you go and organize it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea, to just try and take the pressure off them a little bit, take their jobs away, make their life a bit easier, deliver them a testimonial video and a package of a few other assets that they can put with it. So yeah, that's the idea. And we've done it on a monthly subscription type basis. So they pay a fixed amount each month and they'll get X number of videos over the course of the year. We're even offering, if they just introduce us to their client, that we'll organize the shoot with them and everything. So it's, as hands off as possible, because, people are busy, aren't they? And they haven't got time a lot of the time to go and organize these things. So that's what we like to try and do, make things easy for people.
Yeah, and take it off their hands.
And sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, do you ever get involved in social video? Producing social video?
The social media? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes what we'll do is, like the London Box Sesh one, that's a good example. We produced that company video, and then off the back of that, we produced a few little social media clips for them as well. So, from the footage that we shot during the day, or days in that case, produced a couple of little social media assets for them as well. So
yeah, nice.
There's kind of endless possibilities, really. You can put together a package and give them loads of stuff if they're up for it and they've got the budget for it.
Yeah, and I think people are looking to maximize, because it's not just about the money. There is a cost to it, but it's about time. If they've got either clients have to spend time, or you've got the staff within the business, you've got setup time. It's quite an impact on the business to do that. So when you do get a video, and I'm sure you make it as nice as possible, but there's still an impact for them. But they're going to want to maximize that as much as possible. So getting the big video, getting slices of that they can use in different places is absolutely something they should be doing.
Yeah. And actually, that's another thing to touch on maybe in a bit after the other different types of videos, the experience, because that's one of the things we like to try and do is make the shoot an experience for our clients, because most people, it's not every day that they get to go on a video shoot and and do that, and it's fun. Basically that's why we do it. It's fun. So let's make that into an experience, and you're just adding a bit more value into what you're doing as well. Then the employees maybe who are participating are having a bit of almost a day out and things as well. So
how do you do that? Because that is interesting, and that not only helps to make the process smooth while you're doing it, but it also may encourage referral, because hopefully they have a good time that they're going to want to talk about that, because it's usually the emotion of an event that we talk about, rather than, I had a videographer in. They're going to talk about how it felt for them. How do you do that? Is there anything you could share?
I think it's just about kind of going in and being nice people as much as possible. Just
you bring tea and cake for
enjoying the process ourselves as well. So being as prepared as we can up front as well really helps. But going in and actually, enjoying it and having a bit of a laugh with people, and I don't know, that all sounds a bit vague, doesn't it? Go in and try and be nice and have a nice, but it's about having the right people on the shoot as well. So if we've got bigger shoots, we'll bring in freelancers, but I'm not just going to bring in anyone. I'm going to bring in people that I know are really sound people that are going to get on with clients. They're going to be interested in what they're doing, and all of those things. So yeah, I think it's yeah, as I say, it sounds a bit vague, but you just gotta enjoy it and not be, you know. I think the probably the best piece of business advice I ever heard was years and years ago, and without being rude, it was like, don't be a knob, basically. Like, you know,
Yeah.
just don't. just try and be decent and get on with everyone. And
Well, I think two things you said there ring true for me. Having fun. That's one thing I try and bring into a lot of the workshops I deliver is fun. Because if people are having fun, they're more likely to remember the information. So I think if you can make that process a little bit fun, they're more likely to remember it. And that, you know, and it's not an arduous process of thinking, oh, and we need another video. We have to get Dan back. You don't want that. You want, let's get Dan back for that video. And planning. You know, if you can, like a duck in water, if you can do loads of the scrabbling and the planning beforehand, and when you come there, you've thought about all the angles. So they're not thinking, you know, they're not expecting a lot of you, and you're like, oh, I actually don't know. And then you need to scrabble around at the time. That looks bad, feels bad, no one likes it. Whereas if you go, yeah, this is the plan, we can alter it, but this is what I think we should do. Absolutely, that takes the pressure off them, makes them feel a lot happy about it, and then knowing that you've covered everything. You were talking before we started recording, I think, about even bringing your own PPE if needed. You know, you bring everything that's needed, so they don't have to. You know, so you'll feel you're totally prepared, and they can see that. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got confidence in you, and they're not having to go around, like you say, scrabble around getting all that stuff together.
Yeah.
And actually, I suppose, a more sort of tangible thing that we sometimes try and do, and we're trying to bring in a bit more, is just explain to people what you're doing a bit, you know, because again, they're not hanging around all this video gear all the time. But just say, so yeah, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just changing the aperture. That's going to change my depth of field, and it's going to give it this different look. And you know, and now we're doing this with the lighting, just to sort of, you know, sculpt the shape of your face a little bit, and give you some more shadows over here, so that, you know, you look a bit cooler and whatever, you know. So just explaining what you're doing, and thereby making it more of an experience as well.
Yeah, I think that helps. I think certainly for people who are interested, they're going to take that away. And it's not, you know, you're not going to lose out work because of it. Their family photos might be better because they've learned a few little tips from you, but ultimately it demonstrates that you know what you're doing off the back of it. Were there any other sort of video styles, types that are worth mentioning?
Yeah, a few others. Well, we mentioned about the sort of, you know, demonstration videos and assembly videos and that sort of thing. So explainer videos, I suppose, a kind of similar way, just sort of literally explaining how something works to your customers or your potential customers. What have I missed off? Probably heaps there, I should think. I mean, you got social media videos, like you mentioned, so they're something in their own right, you know. They've got to sort of grab people's attention. We've just been playing around with doing slightly more comical kind of social media videos for our own stuff.
Do you do any live ones as well? Do you do any live broadcast for social media?
Not really. We haven't. We nearly did one before Christmas, but then we were sort of looking into it all, and the question kept coming up, like, do you need to go live? Is there actually any point? What's the reason you're going live? Because there's a lot of, when you start doing it properly, there's a lot of kit to bring in, and there's a lot of, you know, we were gonna be renting a Starlink satellite to make sure that we had good enough internet connection down in the Forest of Dean for this one, and things like that. And it was just like, is there actually any point in you going live here? And the answer really was no at the end. So no, it's not something we've really got involved with yet, but yeah, if it comes, we've got all the right people ready to go. So
nice. So I just want to touch on a few things before we wrap up. Couple of things I learned when speaking to you last year. You've got you have a group of people that you're meeting with, sort of informally, but to do with business. But that's you've sort of formed that into a more formal group called the Thriving Three Counties Mastermind Community. Yep. I think it sounds really interesting. Tell us a little bit more about this, and you know, if people are, you know, if people can join to this, you know, how does it work?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So just over 3 years ago, I started a meetup at the studio, I invited people over once a month in an evening to just come and have a bit of a discussion. We were going to sort of get we did get guest speakers in, and then we'd discuss like a business book another month and things like that. And it was kind of born from two things, really. One, wanting to create some kind of community around the studio, just, for my own sort of marketing purposes. But secondly, because I never really liked many of the networking groups that I went to. So sorry, networking group people, but they never quite got there. Like there were some that were kind of almost doing what I thought was really good, but it just always fell a bit short. And sometimes, in the worst cases, I felt like a school child or something. Like there was one where it was like, now go and do your networking. And I was just a bit like,
no.
And so I just wanted to do it myself and see if I could do it better. So I started this group. The first few sessions we had like 1, 2, 3 people, and it gradually built up, and then of course we took it online in 2020. But it kept building momentum, and then last year in June, actually John Johnson led a walk up on the Malvern Hills, a networking for the group, and we just had such a good feeling from it at the end. Like everyone was really, really happy, and they're saying what a great bunch, great group of people it is, really supportive and everything. So I've always tried to do it in this way of we come together and we support each other and help each other. We can bring our business struggles, and everyone will be there to chip in and help. And I just thought, yeah, we have got a good group here, and I think maybe it's time we did something a bit more with this. So I've now formed and launched this mastermind community. So it's a kind of membership group. We're going to have somewhere in the region of probably 100, 150 people in it. It's based around the 3 counties. As you said, it's called the Thriving 3 Counties Mastermind Community. So it's Herefordshire, Worcestershire and Gloucestershire. Other people are allowed to join. It's not, it's not completely closed, because most of our meetings are online, and then we have an in-person meeting every couple of months at the moment. So it's just launched. I'm going to be growing it. I think we're going to be adding more calls. There's currently 2 meetings a month. There's a daytime one, and then a couple of weeks later there's an evening one.
Okay. And
those evening ones alternate between in-person and online. But as we grow, we're going to add more calls to it. So eventually I can see there's going to be, at least 1 call a week on different themes, and people can pick and choose which ones they want to come to. So we had a goal setting one at the beginning of the year. We're going to have a sort of money worries and cash flow type one in February. We're going to be doing a sort of sales conversations themed meetup. It's all that sort of thing. But the first 2 rules of the group are no pitching and no bitching. So people aren't coming in and just handing out their business cards. We generally hardly even do those 60-second intros, which we all hate. If we do that on a Zoom call, I'll do a 10-second intro. You've got 10 seconds, introduce yourself, say what you do, who you do it for, and we'll move on. But the idea is that it's based around discussion and support. So that's the format. We're taking on currently, as we speak, we've got founding member offer, so we're taking people on. But I am being selective about who comes into the group.
Absolutely,
just open to
don't want any old riffraff coming in.
Exactly.
Well, I guess it's you want, it's about having a good mix of discussion. You want people who are going to add value to it, not just take and suck it dry.
Exactly. So it's got to be people that want to be generous with their time and their knowledge, because they know that they're going to get that back tenfold. That's the thing. And I think, without being sort of rude to anyone or anything like that, sometimes at some of those more traditional networking groups, you get people who will just hand out a business card and they're just looking to see if they can get business. And if they talk to you and it sounds like you're not someone that is going to buy anything from them, they'll literally just move on to the
you can see their eyes glazing over there, like, I want to go over there now.
So it's just none of that. And it's going really well so far. I'm really happy with it.
Do you have a link that we can put in the show notes? to it,
yeah,
or do
I
they
do
contact you through the
actually,
website?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a link which sort of outlines the whole sort of founding member offer and everything, and then at the bottom there you can register your interest to join.
Cool.
I'll then see that, and we'll arrange a little chat and then take it from there.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's in the notes.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
And just finally to touch on your podcast, which hopefully I'll be appearing on. We've got it scheduled for sometime in February. So tell me a little bit about this podcast. Like, it's called Thriving Three Counties. You can get it on all the sort of best areas. In fact, let me share a link to iTunes here, or Apple Podcasts as it's called now. So just tell me a little bit, why did you start this?
As I said, when I was doing when I was sort of in my career change phase, podcasts were really important to me. They still are. I love the audio format, and I used to love hearing people's stories, particularly, and their struggles and everything about, getting into business, and everything they learned from it. So I fancied having a go at it myself, really. Built up a reasonable network, and I thought, right, I'm gonna start one myself, because I love having those conversations. I mean, there was a few clients I've had who, well, most of them really, to be fair, but a few that kind of, kicked it off a bit more, where I just thought, I would love to sit down with you for like an hour and just hear your story about, what you've done your whole life and how you've got to this point running your own business, and all this, the little struggles and things in between. But you can't really do that when you're going for a client meeting. So
No.
it was partly an excuse to do that. Partly I wanted to do something that would also benefit the whole area as well. People come on the podcast and we put it out there, and hopefully, there's been a few instances where people have had inquiries through it, or I've been able to refer someone and say, like, say after your interview, for example, if someone says, oh, I need someone in marketing, I can be like, oh yeah, I know this guy Ben, check out the episode I did with him, and they can listen to that whole hour and go, oh yeah, I know Ben now. I think I'm, again, building that confidence. And then I suppose from my side, from the sort of business side, it was good for me to be building my network. I've met a ton of people that I would have never have met if I hadn't been doing the podcast, because I've now got an excuse to invite them in and sit down with them for a whole hour and talk with them, which is really great from that point of view. Mostly I've been doing them in the studio. We've done a few online. I think we're going to do ours online, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, unfortunately, because of the distance. But I think that's a great idea, because not only can you control the audio and you can make sure that the quality is high, but also they get to come to you and see your environment, which I sure must help.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those reasons, really, and it's good fun, and that's kind of why we run our own businesses, isn't it? At the end of the day, to have a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's nice, and that's one of the reasons why we do this, interviewing people or giving me an excuse or a reason to investigate things, because otherwise you can always find work to do, whereas actually if you create things like this, it does give you an excuse to do different things, meet different people. I'd imagine it would work quite well with the mastermind community as well, bringing some of those people on and giving you lots of things to sort of feed back into it as well.
Yeah, so it's
really well.
the same. Yeah, it's much the same thing, I suppose. Like, just having a bit of space to stop and think about your own journey. I mean, I've had people, a lot of guests actually, who've sat down, we've done the interview, and afterwards they've been like, "Wow, that was really good." Like, it's just good to stop and reflect on what I've done and where I've come from and all the good things I've done. So that's really cool. But yeah, similarly in the mastermind community, it's like last night. We had a great discussion. We were over in Hereford at John Finch Computers, and we just had a really good discussion around, we got into loads of things about, work-life balance and building a team and feeling guilty about this and that and all of these things. And it's a really good, we operate Chatham House rules, so nothing leaves the room sort of thing, and everyone just has that confidence to be able to talk about things that are on their mind and crucially help each other with those.
Yeah, no, it's great. All right, we're coming up to our hour, so unfortunately we've got to finish. But thanks, Dan. If people want to get in touch with you, Obviously, you've got the website. Is there anything else they can go online? In fact, the website is danbarkerstudios.com, but we'll make sure there is a link in the show notes. Is there anywhere else they can find you online?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best place. I'm on there quite a lot. On Instagram a little bit, but not as much. So yeah, I'd probably head over to LinkedIn or they're free to email me. I'm dan@danbarkerstudios.com. So
lovely.
That's fine as well. Yeah.
Thanks very much for coming on this morning, Dan.
Thank you very much for having me, Ben.
Looking forward to the reverse conversation in a couple of weeks when we do that.
Absolutely.
I'm always a little bit nervous when I go on other interviews, and so I'm making notes because you never know what you're going to be asked. I don't think you'll grill me too much, so be nice.
Well,
but it's always interesting.
It's going to be about you, so you'll know all the answers.
Good. God, that helps. Lovely. Thank you very much. Claire, what's happening next week?
So next week, hopefully it'll be an open club episode. We're just waiting for our guests to confirm. If not, we'll dive into the grab bag and answer all those marketing questions.
Yes, all those sort of leftover questions that we get asked or come in from coaching clients, or I'm trying to get more on LinkedIn and just sort of go through those. So that'd be fun. So we're here every Friday from 10 a.m. We cover everything in marketing, strategy, social, SEO, and we talk about video too. If you've got something exciting to share, you can email support@ratherinventive.com and Claire will get in touch. And don't forget, you can catch up with every single one of our previous webinars on ratherinventive.com/membership. But also, if you are interested, we are starting to release some of our older ones as well. So do recommend that to people who aren't part of the club. I think we're starting back, 3 years ago? We're starting to release, in fact, IMC has, number 1 has already been released free to the public. So we're going to start releasing those as well, because we don't want to keep it all locked up forever. We want to get some value out there. So you can always check those out as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.